Dr. Todd Price has been in active medical practice since 1988 as an infectious disease specialist. He's also been intimately involved in medical and humanitarian aid projects all around the world. Sue Price is a registered nurse specializing in critical care. She has not only cared for the most severely ill, but has also gained administrative skills as a medical intensive care charge nurse. I am learning so many new phrases and so many new things. I know this is also your home church.
Yes.
I get an opportunity to share that with you all.
Yes.
Yes.
But welcome. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Glad to have you guys. It's as a surgeon, seeing an infectious disease specialist makes me say, "Wow, now I've met someone smart." So thank you for joining us. I think for all of us, really, in medical care or even not, it's these infectious disease issues, coronavirus, Ebola, that they just overwhelm us. We don't know what to do with that. Frankly, there's probably even some fear of, well, is it going to come here? Not maybe even, there is fear. How do you face that and bring faith into the equation of, we have this crisis, but we're believers, we're Christians, so how do we address these crises from your perspective, expert in infectious disease? How do you confront that?
That's a long question.
It is.
Well, it's I got interested in infectious disease a long time ago, and infections were what medicine was from the beginning.
Right.
You hear about leprosy in the Bible,
Sure.
Tuberculosis.
Okay.
We have different organisms. We're the host, and when a new thing like coronavirus comes up, it's a new parasite or a new virus, and the host, we don't have the immunity, and so it's just a kind of process. So, but any process, as a surgeon or as infectious disease, we always have to bring God into it, because without God, we have nothing. Without God, we don't have immunity.
Yeah.
Without God, we have no protection. But with God, we have protection, and we will be protected. I've been in many places around the world and see people here in Houston with TB, and my TB test is still negative.
Wow.
So it's
God.
pretty amazing. So God, that's just to say God is protection. He's protecting all of us. If you knew what I knew with all the bacteria and the viruses, you would wonder why we're not all dead.
Right.
But God protects us.
Amen to that. Amen. Thank you so much for helping us just understand. I like your picture that as an immune defense system that we have, we've not been exposed, but fortunately our God, Jesus, makes us immune.
Yes.
To the consequences of sin.
Yes, that's our immunity.
And so that is a great parallel to take someone who has had an infectious disease or is suffering or is faced with one like coronavirus to say, hey, I can't cure your coronavirus, but I can tell you about Jesus who can cure everything else.
Yes.
That's a wonderful connection. Sue, tell us a bit about the medical intensive care unit and how that interfaces with what you're doing. If you and Todd go together on some trips, or is that something you're doing on your own, or how does the ICU and your training play into all of this?
Well, I haven't been in the intensive care unit for a long time.
Okay.
I started my nursing career in the intensive care unit.
Okay.
And then we were married for 7 years and I had children, so I sort of took a break from working in the hospital. And when Todd opened his own practice, I joined him in that practice to help him.
Great.
And still
I'm sure he
helping
needed
him
help.
now.
So
Still helping him today.
Excellent.
So I helped him in his office and was able to raise my 2 sons and work in the office as well. I've learned a lot about infectious disease, and it's fascinating.
And you learned some things you didn't want to know?
I learned some things I didn't want to know, but
That happens.
but then again, like we were just saying, it's something that we're all exposed to. It's something that really, infectious diseases affect us all.
Everybody.
And
Yes.
I've learned a lot about the immune system. Thank God that God gave us that mechanism to protect us besides the supernatural protection. But it's a fascinating field.
Yes.
And so back when did we start? International Medical Outreach was founded in 1993.
93.
Yes.
Okay, so
And
27 years.
27 years. We were
Wow.
very young. He was young in his practice.
You're still young.
Yes.
And it's very different now than what it was back then. We've evolved
sure.
to this point.
So tell us a little bit about that. We may not be, some watching myself, not so familiar with that organization and what you do. Tell us a bit about it.
Well, being an infectious disease, I'm interested in taking care of infectious disease. But initially, we would go and we pack a bag of medications and we go do clinics.
Sure.
And then, as the years went by, we weren't so. We didn't want to do things better. So we wanted a little more follow-up. So we evolved from doing temporary clinics to projects. And we got into distributing medical supplies and medications in large quantities, up to $1 billion worth of medications.
Wow.
And we would ship containers worth $200-300 million per container. And so we did that for a while. And then we took a step back because we weren't so absolutely sure that all the medicines were getting where we wanted them to go, even though we got good reports.
That could happen.
Yes. So we took a step back and took a hands-on approach. And so that's what we're doing now. We have a project in Uganda, which is right on the border with the Congo. And we essentially are attacking infectious disease. And when I first went over as a temporary medical missionary when I was in college, I noticed all these kids with worms, intestinal worms, and so I always wanted to kind of address that. And so and over the years we've dewormed 60 million or more children.
Wow.
But now we have a project where we're taking total control. We test the children, and then we put our program together, and then we're hoping to see improvement. And that's what we found in Uganda. This is a very rural area in Uganda, right on the border with the Congo, like I said.
Sure.
And when we first tested the 200 children that we checked, we found almost 74% of the children had one or more intestinal parasite.
So unpack that a little bit for us. Well, not too much. We don't need a visual, but can you tell us why is that so bad? Like, I mean, they're living, they're eating, they're doing things. Why is having that parasite? Why do you need to do that?
Well, when you have infection, like first you're in a situation where maybe the nutrition or the availability of nutrition is not so good.
Okay.
So what food you eat, the worms eat a lot of it. So you don't become well nourished, become even more malnourished. And the number one cause of immune suppression worldwide is malnutrition. So we got a situation where kids are malnourished already, and now they're more malnourished. They're more susceptible to infections, so that sets them up for other infections like TB, like HIV, like many other cholera.
It's like a cascade.
Yeah, it's a cascade, and
sure.
it's a cascade of poverty. So you never get out of poverty. You're malnourished, and when a child in the developing years is malnourished, then that affects their ability to learn and their IQ. So we want to attack that. So
it sounds like you are attacking that.
Yeah, we're attacking that.
And you're making some progress.
We're making good progress in this particular project. We initially put shoes on the children, but shoes don't work if you don't wear them.
That's true.
So that was as a barrier.
Right.
But that didn't work, so we looked around and found that the pit latrines are not so hygienic.
Okay.
So there's a lot of flies, vectors of disease. Sometimes they stink real bad. There's a foul odor. And so people don't go there, they go out in the field, and that makes it worse. So,
that makes
so we're converting the pit latrines to compost toilets.
Okay.
And our goal was to decrease the percentage of children with worms. But there's another benefit, and that is at the end of the process, there's fertilizer. And that attacks the malnutrition part.
Right.
So over 4 years, we have 4 years of the program, so it went from 74% of the children that had parasites, and now it's down to 15%.
Wow. So you keep using we. Who's we? Is this you? Is this you? The two of you? Okay.
Our boys.
Okay. So family, it's a family endeavor.
It's a family operation.
It's a family operation. So for those of us who kind of maybe have thought, well, my spouse is medical, he goes or she goes, but I just stay home. Tell us about doing this as a family. This is a family project. This isn't just somebody goes off and does their thing. What does that mean to your family? How does that bond you? maybe different experiences or, I don't know, stress?
Well,
Tell us.
our sons have always traveled with us. Our
Always.
oldest son, who's now
Wow.
32,
Okay.
took his first trip to Nepal when he was 2 years old.
Wow,
And so
courageous
It
parents.
was brave and maybe not so smart on my part.
She was pregnant at the time.
Okay.
But you know, we felt God was leading us, and
Yes.
we knew in our hearts that we were going to do this type of work throughout
Right.
our career, and so we took a step of faith and took a trip to Nepal. And so through the years, our sons have always been very connected and involved in what we're doing, even at a young age. When we
Yes.
were doing the temporary clinics, they would be counting tablets and filling
Okay.
little roles and doing
Sure.
tasks here and there. So now they're 32 and 29, and they're really off in their own careers, but they're still involved in what we do. Our
They still
oldest,
travel with you or not?
when they can.
When they can, okay.
Our 32-year-old just graduated with his master's in public health.
Oh, congratulations.
So obviously what we have done throughout his life has made an impact on him.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Wow.
our youngest son is a journalist.
Okay.
And so, but they still are very well acquainted and very involved and very passionate about what we do.
Right.
And so Todd and I travel together. We take at least two trips to Africa, to Uganda every year.
2 a year, okay.
And sometimes we've done a third trip.
Right.
We do it together. He does what he does best, and I do what I do best, and
Excellent.
we complement each other. We have a local team in Uganda. We have an office there, and we put a lot of responsibility onto the Ugandans
Excellent.
for what's happening there. So
Sue-
that's what he means by we.
Yes, great. So, Sue and Todd Price, thank you for your work. Thank you for starting this mission organization, and it's a family affair.
Yes.
How wonderful to be able to serve together as a family, and your boys have been changed forever. And look at their worldview that maybe wouldn't have happened. Thank you for your time with us. It's really a pleasure to hear your story, God's story, through
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Chuck, another
Thank
experience.
you.
Todd,
Thank you
Sue,
very
thank you
much.
guys so much for all the work that you do. We're just under 10 minutes to go for our main session, but we have one more guest we want to introduce you to. We'll do that right after this.